All right, Chris Hassel joined by Pete Prisco, who has his brand new power rankings out. We had a lot happen in week one. Both Super Bowl teams lost, Pete, and 6 of the 7 playoff teams from the NFC all lost. But I read your article. You say, kind of like Aaron Rodgers said a long time ago, relax. Just week one, just one game.
Or like I say to Noah, the producer, when he gets all frazzled, relax, kid.
Calm
Relax,
down.
kid.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. And this is week one in the NFL. I mean, things happened. We saw the Packers get blown out last year in week one
Still won
by the
13
Saints.
games.
Right. So you got to slow the roll a little bit. Don't get too excited if your team won. Don't get too angry if your team lost. There are things to be concerned about. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things to be concerned about. But don't overreact to one game.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Pete Prisco's brand new power rankings. You can find the whole list on CBSSports.com as well with explanations. The Bills remain number 1. The Chiefs up to number 2. The Packers were that number 2 team, but they get blown out by the Vikings, so they fall. Bucks, Eagles, and Chargers all new to the top 5. Saints stay put at 6 with a come-from-behind win against the Falcons. Vikings and Ravens, big risers. Looking in the teens, the Dolphins up 6 spots to number 12 after handling the Patriots. The Colts falling 3 spots. And Pete wasn't high on the Broncos to begin with, so they only fall 3 spots after losing on Monday Night Football to Seattle. And then looking at the back third of the rankings, the Giants leapfrogging the Cowboys. Giants 23rd, Cowboys down to 24. And the Falcons remaining in last despite a feisty showing, a game that they maybe should have won against the Saints. All right, so we're going to break it all down here. Pete Prisco's power rankings. We've got Pete, and we also have our 2-time champ, Bryant McFadden here, who's he's all bowed up because the Steelers won and the Vikings won. His co-host of the podcast, Patrick Peterson, and the Vikings with an impressive victory against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Let's start with the Bills, Pete. Proving, at least in week one, what you and many others have been saying all offseason, that this is the best team in football.
Buffalo Bills are good. I mean, across the board. And I remember we talked about it last week. I said one of the things, we knew Josh Allen, at least I did. I'm convinced he's a star now, and so now is everybody else. But they're going to put up a lot of points. But that wasn't the biggest difference in this version of the team. It was that defensive front. And they dominated from start to finish. And it was waves of guys. You're talking about Epinesa came in and got a sack and a half, and Boogie Basham and Russo, and of course Von Miller and the interior guys. And a little tease, by the way, tomorrow we might see some spinning tops from that Rams offensive line. So, yeah, the Bills are just a really good, sound football team. And then you say, well, their cornerback position is in flux. What are you going to do? They draft 2 kids. Elam and Benford are both rookie corners, and they played well in that game. So I think this team is complete, and I will be astounded if they don't win it all, if they all stay healthy.
And their odds shorten as well to win the Super Bowl from 6-1 to plus 525, B-Mac.
Yeah, I agree with everything Pete stated, especially with the Bills being number 1 on his power rankings. I think, the expectations were extremely high for the Bills overall. Team success, but then looking at Josh Allen actually had a bad ball game, and he still was able to just dominate, especially in the second half. You saw costly interceptions. One interception clearly was not his fault. McKenzie has to make that pass, make that catch, but outside of that, when he dialed in the second half, Josh Allen just showed how dominant he can be. But yeah, the storyline for me was the Bills' defense. Leslie Frazier has been a well-respected defensive coach for quite some time, and he's at his best when he can put pressure on opposing quarterbacks without sending extra guys in a blitz concept. They were able to harass Matthew Stafford and sack him, only rushing 4 guys the entire ball game and dropping everyone else into coverage. So now you talk about some of the young corners they have filling in for Tre'Davious White. Yeah, their life is a little easier when they're putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks, only doing it with 4 guys.
B-Mac. Bad game? The Steelers haven't had a quarterback play like that in 4 years. Bad game? What are you talking about?
What I'm saying, for his standards, that was a kind of a bad game. His first half, the turnovers kept the Rams in that ball game in the first half. Right or wrong?
But bad game.
Right or wrong?
B-Mac, one was an interception right off a guy's hand. It wasn't a bad game.
I said Isaiah has to make that catch. I said that, didn't I say, Chris?
When was the last time the Steelers had a quarterback play a game like that, B-Mac?
We're not talking about Pittsburgh. We're not talking about Pittsburgh.
You would take that game any day of the week in Pittsburgh.
Okay. If we're going to talk about Pittsburgh, when the last time the Bills won a championship?
Well, I mean, good point.
He got you. You got Pete to shut up real quick there, B-Mac. 26 for 31, 297 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. One of them not his fault, as B-Mac pointed out. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are up to number 2. They looked really good. It answered, if not all questions, most of them in that game against the Cardinals. We don't know how good the Cardinals are this season, but didn't miss Tyreek Hill at all in that Week 1 game.
And that's because they have Patrick Mahomes, and it's because they have Andy Reid. And Andy Reid, one of the best play designers in the NFL, and I think Patrick Mahomes makes it easy on him. I wasn't worried about the passing game. Yeah, it's hard to lose a guy like Tyreek Hill, and you just have to adjust. You do things differently, puts more pressure on different guys. Valdez-Scantling looked great in that offense, and I think you're going to see guys each and every week step up. I'm not worried about the Chiefs' offense at all. The concern had been the defense, and they played very well. Arizona is not right now a good football team.
Yeah, Arizona's not a good football team, and the Chiefs made them look like a team that's struggling right now. The Chiefs offensively looked like they were in midseason form. You know, we saw a lot of struggles from prominent offenses led by outstanding quarterbacks in the first week. We didn't see any struggles from Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs offense. I mean, he threw 3 passing touchdowns, I think, in the first quarter, kind of scaled it back and only finished with 5 because the game was out of reach. He's right now my odds-on favorite to win the MVP. I think it's a 2-player race right now between Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, but that's another topic of discussion. But the way he's been playing so far in that first week, man, yes. It's just the Bills was just that good. And the Bills played against a better team, quote-unquote, on paper. So I have no issue with Kansas City being number 2. I think if it wasn't for the Buffalo Bills, Kansas City probably would be number 1 on Pete's power rankings list.
Their Super Bowl odds, the Chiefs went from 11-1 before the season, 8-1 now, and boy, it's going to be fun on Thursday against the Chargers. We'll get to them. They jumped into the top 5 as well in just a second. The Bucs at number 3, Pete. I'm surprised you put them that high, given the fact that they beat the Cowboys basically without Dak, and you were worried about the offense and the offensive line. Did they really answer any of those questions in that first game?
No, and they suffered more injuries. That is a concern going to New Orleans, and the Saints have owned them because in recent years they beat them up. And so that is a concern this week. But look, the Cowboys' offense was nothing when Dak Prescott was in there. They shut them down. They did a great job with defense, and the defense played much better than I thought they would play. And then when you go to the other side of the ball, Brady was just off a tick. They moved the ball. They just couldn't get in the red zone. They kind of bogged down. I think that'll be fine. But they're still going to be a team to reckon with when this thing is all said and done. And if you look at the NFC, right now, who's the favorite in the NFC?
Well, Rams took a loss.
Good question.
Tampa went in as the favorite, so they would still be the favorite right now. The Packers took a loss.
And you know, is it the Bucs or the Eagles? Is that what you would say right now?
You've got the Eagles in the top 5, B-Man.
Yeah, I think the concerns that Pete mentioned in regards to Tampa is mostly on the offensive end. But we know they're going to correct their wrongs. We know Tom Brady's going to be dialed in. We know this week will probably be a more efficient week for Tom Brady, so I'm not concerned at all. When you look at who else could you put at number 3, I mean, the Buccaneers were already high on Pete's list going back to last week, so not really seeing any reason for them to drop off because, as Pete mentioned, when Dak Prescott was in the lineup, it was like he wasn't there because they just suffocated the offense from the Dallas Cowboys. They couldn't run the football. They couldn't throw the football. So hats off to the Buccaneers defense. I think that unit will be stout the entire year as long as they're healthy. And you know we're going to see more explosive play coming from Tom Brady and his offense.
So the question, who's the NFC favorite right now? You got the Bucs at 3. You've got the Eagles as the second highest ranked NFC team right now, despite giving up 35 to the Lions.
Yeah, and some of that was at the end when the game was kind of out of reach, but they got to tighten up on defense, no doubt about it. But that offense is going to be dynamic. If Jalen Hurts plays like he did, it took him a little while to get going, plays like he did against the Lions, and again, that's not going to happen week in and week out because the Lions aren't a great team. This team is going to be a deep playoff team. I think they're the best team in their division. I think Jalen Hurts, I said this, and I saw them this summer and talked to people down there, and they said, different quarterback, going through his progressions, get through his reads. And I haven't watched the tape from this game. I can't wait to watch it, but it looked like on the TV side of it that he was indeed doing that. They're talented across the board, and they're really good on the offensive line, which a lot of teams in this league can't claim. So I think they're going to be in the mix the entire season, Chris.
Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback because he now has a true number one wide receiver. Let's just keep it simple. Seeing the connection between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, especially in the first half of that ball game, it was like, wow, they can be unstoppable. And don't forget about Devontae Smith as well. He's like 1B in their offense. So, yes, talent-wise, they have it. And Miles Sanders, when he is healthy, he makes this offense that much better. But my concern, I have a few concerns with Pete's list, especially in the top 5, the top 6. You talk about the impressive win by the Eagles. They played against the Lions. They played against the Lions, and you can say it was garbage points that kind of led to a more competitive game, but the Lions did score to make this thing extremely sticky. So me personally, having the Eagles at 4 is my first gripe with Pete's Prisco's
Who would you put
list.
there?
I would easily have the Vikings at number 4.
Of course he would.
And
Of course he would.
No. Wait a minute, but hear me out, guys. And Chris, you let me know if I'm right or wrong,
Okay.
right? Last week, who was number 2 on Pete's list?
Packers.
The Packers played who week 1?
Vikings.
Was it a competitive game,
No.
or were they just dominated from start to finish?
Vikings dominated.
Well, if Christian Watson catches
Well,
the
let me
ball
ask you
when he
this
runs
question.
by Pat, he would have had been a
Hold on.
competitive game.
Wait a minute. Hold on, Pete. Hold on, Pete. I have the mic. This is my phone, but I'm acting like it's a microphone right now, so follow me. I have the mic, okay? Pete, who had the more impressive win? Out of Philly, the Chargers, the Saints, and the Vikings, who had the most impressive win?
The Vikings did. That
So how-
that doesn't move them all the way up, though. Those teams started ahead of the Vikings.
What? They just dominated your previous number 2 team.
One
Chris, help me
game.
out. Am I
This is
right
the
or wrong?
classic overreaction Tuesday for you, B-Mac. You get roped into it every
Give
year.
me my own segment.
Huh?
Yeah,
Every
I
year.
want my own segment.
No, you're
Give
not
me
getting
my
your own segment. This is my segment. This is Power Rankings.
Well, I'm
you get to
sorry.
pick them apart.
I'm picking it apart. You're dead wrong. I love Philly. I love Jalen Hurts. I love what they're doing. I think they are the best team in their division. But they have no business being in front of the Vikings, and clearly the Saints have no business being in front of the Vikings. Pete, you have the Falcons as the dead last team on your power rankings. It took a last-second field goal for the Saints to beat them.
One game.
Why are they in front of the Vikings?
One game. Overreaction. You're the because they're going to beat this Bucs this week too, by the way. Overreaction. Look, here's what you forget when you talk about your Minnesota Vikings and everything else. The glazed look. It comes. It's coming at some point. You know it. It comes every single year, 2 or 3 times a year. The glazed look on the quarterback. It shows up. It'll happen again.
No. Not this year. I love glazed donuts, by the way. Shout out to Krispy Kreme. But not this year, Pete. They got a different man in charge. We're not seeing that generic offense, run right, run left. There's no glaze going on right now at the Minnesota Vikings, Skull Nation.
Hey, guys.
I just have an issue. I don't think Philly, the Chargers, or the Saints should be in front of the Minnesota Vikings.
Guys, we're going to find out this week because the Eagles and Vikings play one of those 2 games on Monday Night Football. That should be a really good one. At number 5, we go back to the AFC, and it's the LA Chargers, a team that looked like we wanted them to look, right? We wanted them to look all season. And the question is, can they stay consistent this year?
It's a passers and pass rusher league. What do the Chargers have? The passer, a star passer, and the pass rushers. By adding Khalil Mack, who had 3 sacks, by the way, they just dominated a bad Raiders line. And Joey Bosa on the other side. They can get after the quarterback, and they can do so many things because they can rush with those guys and cover up some problems at times in the secondary. I think this team is loaded across the board. You know my only concern with this team? My only concern with this team is Staley gets a little loose and out of control with his going for it all the time, but this team is loaded. I love the Chargers.
Well, we did see Staley settle for a kick in last week's game, so that's growth. He has started to mature a little bit in regards to that element of his coaching, so that's a plus. But yes, this defense is going to be scary good. Khalil Mack was the first one to the party. We didn't see Bosa dominate, but his time is coming as well. And think about this, guys. They're just dominating the way they dominated the Raiders the way they did, but they're missing their top cover corner in J.C. Jackson. Eventually, in a few weeks, he will be added to their defense as well. So this is going to be a real entertaining team to watch, especially on the defensive end. They did a real good job in stopping the run as well. Remember, that was an Achilles heel. And eventually, I think we were going to see more from Austin Eckler. We didn't see a lot from him. This game was solely about Justin Herbert's arms. And he was able to just carve up the secondary without his prime time pass catcher in Keenan Allen. So, I mean, that was an impressive win. A divisional matchup, first week, you know it can go either way, could be competitive, but that was a very, very impressive win by the Chargers.
You know it's a sign of real growth by a quarterback? When Keenan Allen goes out, who is his top target, everybody assumes, okay, Kelly's going to come in and he's going to throw to him. But no, I mean, Palmer's going to come in and he's going to throw to him. Mm-hmm. He didn't. He threw to DeAndre Carter. That's growth as a quarterback. That's what great quarterbacks in this time in their career start going to the guys, no matter who they are, who are open. This kid's special, man.
Against the AFC West, Justin Herbert in his career has been statistically better than against the rest of the AFC. If those stats continue, maybe they win the division this season. All right, Pete's power rankings continue on, and we've got a really good week coming up because you just had the Chargers at number 5. They play his number 2 team, the Chiefs, and you have the Eagles playing the Vikings. Really good week of football coming up, and the Bucs and Saints as well. So like the top 7 or so.
That's going to
like they're all playing each other.
And the Ravens and the Dolphins.
All right, let's talk about some teams that took a tumble on the other side of the break. All right, we're back with Pete Prisco's power rankings. I'm Chris Hassel. We also have Bryant McFadden with us, and we're talking teams now that were the biggest risers and the biggest fallers. We'll start with the risers, and it's the Ravens up 8 to number 8, led by number 8. Thought that was a picture of Lamar Jackson, but it wasn't. Number 8, Lamar Jackson, who could be playing his final year with the Ravens.
No, he's not playing his final year.
JLC says that they're going to trade him.
No, the worst case scenario is they tag him for another year.
JLC, I saw it on Twitter last night.
I don't believe
JLC
it.
said they're going to trade him.
I don't believe it. Well, if you trade him
after this season,
I don't believe it. I think he'll be their quarterback next year, and he'll ultimately take a deal. He should have taken the deal this year. He turned down a monster deal. Bad advice from his agent, who happens to be himself.
You don't think he'll end up getting more money because he turned it down?
We'll see. We'll see.
Usually that's what happens.
He played well on Sunday.
Why are they such risers when they just beat the Jets?
Because there was things I saw.
Good question, Chris.
Well, there were things were things I saw. Well, a lot of teams lost and didn't play very well. Yeah. But there were things I saw in that game. They actually got after the quarterback a little bit, which was a concern for me for the Ravens. That was a big concern. And Lamar Jackson threw the ball well from the pocket. That's always the big concern. So that's why I kept him up and moved him up a little bit.
B-Mac?
Well, Lamar did look real good from the pocket. All of his big-time completions came from the pocket. But at first, it was a little tough situation for the Baltimore Ravens, and the Jets defense really played pretty good football. They were physical. I was surprised to see how much energy they played with, knowing that they had their backup quarterback and Joe Flacco in commanding the offense. So having the Baltimore Ravens move up 8 spots is a bit questionable, but then I heard what Pete mentioned in regards to why there were a lot of teams that didn't play well and some teams that lost, so you had to make way for the Ravens.
Only 63 total rushing yards, Pete.
And here's the thing with somebody asked me this the other day. Will Lamar Jackson run less to protect himself? Because he is playing for a contract.
What do you think?
I mean, you always got to look out for number
so.
one. You always got to look out for number one, don't you? I mean,
yeah, but Pete, running is who he is. It's hard to turn that off when you've been doing that your entire career.
I get
for the
it,
most
B-Mac,
part,
but
playing the quarterback position.
But I get it. But you're also waiting for a $200 million signing bonus, and that's more important than running the football on 3rd and 9. I can tell you that.
Even if it causes just that split second.
Right.
Of, should I do
right.
this or not?
Right.
So far, so good. But it was the Jets, right? All right, that's the biggest riser. Ravens up 8 to number 8. The biggest faller, the Dallas Cowboys. They are down to number 24. Now, Jerry Jones says Dak could be back within 4 games. You buying that?
No, not one bit. And I think that's just him trying to keep his fan base energized. I don't think he's coming back in 4 weeks. I think it'll be more like 6. At the earliest 6 weeks. I think it's going to be more than that. He's a quarterback, and Brady Quinn can attest to this. When you have a broken thumb, it's going to be a problem at some point holding and gripping the football. So I don't think it'll be that quick for him to be back on the field. And he didn't play very well anyways. I mean, this is the type of situation where you play an opener, you have a bunch of new receivers, a bunch of young guys, you're playing Tampa Bay, you're at home, you have to elevate your game. You're paid a boatload of money too. Elevate your game and take it over. He didn't. He wasn't very good. And I don't know if you saw the quote from Devin White. Devin White said that they did the same stuff they did the last time they played him. They were ready for it. And so there was no real game plan, it didn't sound like, from an offensive standpoint from Kellen Moore. So disappointing performance by the Cowboys. Without Dak Prescott, this is not a good football team.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I felt like with a healthy Dak Prescott, they would probably be the second best team in the NFC East before Week 1 kicked off. And now seeing that, that's affirmation. I think they potentially could drop to 3 or 4 depending on how they look without Dak Prescott in the lineup. So I agree with you, Pete. Just seeing this significant fall in your power rankings is deserving because they were dominated. With Dak Prescott, they have no wide receivers outside of CD Lamb. They didn't even try to run the football. Ezekiel Elliott did have 50-plus yards on the ground, but they just kind of took the ball away from him. So you got to question the whole mindset in regards to their scheme and what they want to do on the offensive end. But that was just a bad day for the Cowboys, and it might get better as time goes on without Dak Prescott.
Might get better. Might get better for the Packers, though. We saw it last season. They get blown out by the Saints. They looked even worse last year against the Saints. This year, same sort of thing. The Vikings take care of them, and the Packers are down from number 2 to number 9.
Yeah, I didn't like their defensive plan whatsoever.
Yeah, you thought this was, not just you and Brady, B-Mac, many others, thought this would be among the elite defenses in the league.
Well, I mean, why didn't you put Alexander on Jefferson? I know they move him around, but you travel with him. He wasn't on him at all, not once. None of his catches came against Alexander. He got matched up on a linebacker one time. Preston Smith was on him one time. He just destroyed them in that game, and it was a bad scheme by the Packers. I was really disappointed in their defense. Everybody's talking about the wide receivers, and yeah, if Christian Watson catches the long ball, maybe that changes the way the flow of the game would go. He didn't. But those receivers will get going. They'll be fine. See, when I see a play like that, this is how I look at a play like that. The kid was wide open. He dropped it, but he was wide open. That tells you it's going to happen at some point. He'll learn to catch the football. I'm not worried about the wide receivers, but the defensive plan was terrible.
Defensively, they played so much zone. And playing against a Kevin O'Connell offense with Justin Jefferson moving everywhere on the offensive side, you're going to have issues playing a lot of zone concept. And I agree with you, Pete. Jair Alexander is one of the best corners in the game. You put your best player on their best player, and let's play football. Let's do it. This is zone concept right here.
Yep.
This highlight, they're playing a zone concept. All he did was just find the open space. This is a situation where you got to get over, Stokes. This is another zone concept right here. Like, you got to find a way. And look, that's a safety.
Right.
That's savage. Right here is man under, but you got to find a way to get creative and put pressure on the quarterback. If you allow number 18, who I believe is the best wide receiver in the game, to be able to move everywhere on the offensive side playing against zone concepts, he's going to find the open space, and good luck in trying to limit that.
B-Mac, he did really well with all those moves he stole from Jamar Chase on Sunday, so he's got that going for him.
Hey, Pete, when we go back there and Kevin O'Connell invited us back in January, we got to ask him about that, right?
Yeah, of course. He stole his moves.
Packers are going to be fine,
His moves are working.
Yeah.
They were working on Sunday.
Packers have the Bears coming up. Even though the Bears
It's going to be a get-right game.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers does
It
not
better
lose
be.
to the Bears.
It'll be a get-right game. It'll be a get-right game.
They're double-digit favorites. Dolphins up to number 12. What did we learn week 1 in the new Mike McDaniel system and Tua and Tyreek?
Well, we learned a couple things. A, the defense I think is going to be good. The Patriots offense isn't very good, so I still think it's going to be a good defense. But Tua looked pretty good. I got to give him credit. He made some throws. Now, having said that, they scored 1 offensive touchdown. In South Florida, you would think this guy was Marino the way they're talking about him. And they scored 1 offensive touchdown. And they made it easy on him. I think Mike McDaniel's going to make it real easy on Tua. He's going to get him out of the pocket. He's going to let him make easy throws, simple throws. You know, in the 4th down play to Waddle, he made a nice shot into the middle of the field on 4th down. No risk, though. If it's incomplete, big deal. If it's intercepted, big deal. But he made the shot. So I think he was better But let's slow the roll a little bit. He still only scored 7 points on the offensive side of the ball, or touchdown.
Pete, come on. Allow the fans down in South Florida to rejoice and just enjoy what they saw. That 4th down play was a gutsy throw. It was dead on the money to Mr. Waddle, and he did the rest. That was a big-time professional throw. But I'm more excited about the defense. That's an opportunistic defense. Xavier Howard, once again, is a ball-hawking corner. They're putting pressure they put pressure on Mac Jones. They tore up his poor back. I don't know where his back is right now, but clearly they say he got beat up so bad his back is hurting. So this is a real interesting test for them this week with the Baltimore Ravens playing against Lamar Jackson. I can't wait to see these two playoff caliber teams go at it, but I was more excited about the defense. I think they will open things up a little more for Tua Tagovailoa. And also, too, Pete, I was a bit concerned and disappointed in the running or the lack thereof. I thought they were running the football a little better than what they did against the Patriots.
He was still careless with the football a couple times, and he got away with a bad throw to Tyreek Hill, who made a great play to catch the ball. There were just little things in there that are still a little bit concerning. And when I say that's no risk throw and 4th down, if it's intercepted, big deal. It's 4th down. There's no risk to making that throw. So I want to see the throws in the middle.
It is a risk.
Where's the risk?
You convert the 1st down. Not only did they convert the first down,
Where's the risk?
actually
There was
scored.
a minute left in the half. There was no risk there. It was no risk whatsoever.
But if they don't get it, the Patriots basically got the ball at midfield.
Yeah, and they did so much with the ball when they had it during that entire game, too.
Well,
Because of that defense.
You said in the article, though,
defense.
don't be worried about the Patriots. They'll score some points eventually.
They will.
Nah.
Enough points?
Hit the panic button for the Patriots. Hit
They'll
the
score
panic
points.
button.
All right, Pete
They might score
Prisco's-
points this week against a certain team that wears black and gold.
Patriots Steelers. That's on CBS, right? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know it's on CBS.
All things covered with BMAC. Always feeling himself because his Steelers have won, his Vikings have won.
Florida State won.
By the way,
Florida
State
State's
won.
unbeaten.
Hey, I love Patrick Peterson, but I'm guilty of a bad joke on Sunday.
What's that?
When Christian Watson ran by him, I said, that's not all things covered.
Yeah, that's a bad joke.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.